Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday, and welcome to week 5. I hope that everybody had a great week last week with our Nourish module and that you were able to take a closer look into those blue zones and start thinking about longevity and the things that we do that contribute to nourishment, but not just in that food sense, but also in that holistic approach of everything we're kind of introducing into our world and our lives. So, this week, in continuation with some of that blue zone themes, we are going to move into movement, which was something that Dan Buettner in his talk focused on. And if you had a chance to kind of take the longevity test or explore a little bit from his website, it's something that he talks about in a lot of detail. So before I get into that, just a couple reminders that all coursework for week 4 nourishment is going to be due by tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. So making sure that you get that in before midnight so that I can get that graded and offer you some feedback. So, with movement this week, I know and recognize that the majority of us are moving into spring break this week. And so I wanted to be very intentional about how I created this module so that you were spending time with the people you love and doing things that fill you up and that you weren't kind of bogged down with working too much on class. And I think that movement is a perfect module to kind of take a step back and to do that. So you are only going to have a few things for me this week, and we'll get into exactly what those are through this video. But in the blue zones, when you were watching the TED Talk and he talked specifically about moving, I love how he presents the idea that all of these centenarians, the thing that they had in common was that they move naturally. So I think when we think of exercise, there's a lot of anxiety and stress that comes around that term of exercise. I think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. I think that when we don't work out the way that we think we should be working out, that there's a lot of guilt, a lot of anxiety. And so I love the idea of flipping the conversation from working out as hard as you can, as intense as you can, to how are we working on introducing movement organically throughout our day and maybe doing some gentle movements more consistently than that intensity type workout that we're used to. So he talks about how it could be something like gardening or hiking or walking to a cafe that's close to you. We're so lucky. I live right in the borough of Westchester, and we can walk. It's less than a mile to all the restaurants and the bars and the parks. So movement for me is very easily. In fact, we were in and out of town all day yesterday because the weather was so nice. But maybe finding ways to get places that are near you that don't require you to ride in a car. So even if it's biking or walking, just using those natural forms of movement to get you from point A to point B is just a beautiful way to kind of create that space for that. Even like doing household chores or something that we usually rely on like other things to help us with that, but that is movement for sure. And just kind of appreciating the fact that when you're doing those movements, it's actually helpful for your body. In Brian Johnson, sorry, in his optimized program on movement, he actually talks a lot about that idea of consistency over intensity. So, like I said before, it's actually better, and research has shown that it's better for your muscles, for longevity, for stress reduction to do small, gentle exercising every day for about 15 to 20 minutes than it is to do like 3 hardcore workouts where it's super intense and you're sweating and you're at the gym, and that type of fitness is completely different than that built upon fitness that you get when you do a very gentle approach or stretching approach or just something for 20 minutes each day, because that actually builds up and the results are better than if you're doing these high intensity workouts but only like periodically. So this week I want you to think about movement and about how you move. And when I present this for professional developments to schools or to students, I always ask the question, what was your favorite form of movement when you were a child? So I want you to think for a moment and think about what type of movement brought you joy. Was it dancing? Was it playing sports? Was it being outside? So just take a second to kind of think about that. Okay, you got it? So now that you've thought about that, I want you to think about what your type of movement that you do the most now. So do you run? Do you do the elliptical? Do you take a spin class? And I want you to see if they're in alignment, if that activity that you loved to do when you were younger matches up with what you're doing now. because a lot of time there's a big disconnect. And for me, it was a huge disconnect for a really long time. I was into the high intensity workouts. I was doing the beach body workouts all the time. I honestly felt like if I wasn't dripping sweat, then I wasn't working out. And to be honest with you, my body didn't react the way that I wanted it to react when I was doing those high intensity workouts. And when I reflected on this question specifically, I loved when I was younger to be outside. It was my favorite thing to just go, and be outside all day. I love to dance. I love to do gymnastics. And so I switched my form of movement to being yoga and actually loved it so much that I'm a certified yoga instructor and hiking and just being outside and taking walks and enjoying nature. And literally those are pretty much my only two forms of exercise that I do on a regular basis. And I found that my body so badly just needed that gentleness and that love and that stretching. And what I was putting it through and that high impact was actually extremely detrimental to me personally. So maybe think about how your relationship with movement is and if there might be something that you can try this week that looks a little bit different. Which brings me to a couple things. Two apps. I use the Down Dog app. It's literally spelled DOWNDOG. It's a little blue square with a white dog head. It is a yoga app, but it's free. And you can kind of do yoga from 5 minutes to 90 minutes. You can pick your level, you can pick your type of yoga. And it's something that I do pretty much every morning. Another little bit more intense type of yoga. I really like this instructor. Her name's Boho Beautiful, and she's on YouTube. But starting with that app, they have a restorative setting on that, and that's a very gentle form of stretching. So, talking about morning routines and continuing to build on our morning routines, I usually start my morning routine, with my mindfulness practice, so my meditation, and then I go right into a 20 or 25-minute stretch. And I get it done in the morning before I have anything else that kind of fills my plate up. And then that idea of like, oh, I still have to work out or I still have to do something, it's gone. So it releases that pressure where you have that internal dialogue. And I start my day and I feel so good because I've allowed my body to move and to stretch and to have that time to literally wake up. So if that's something, if you don't really know where to start and you wanted to start somewhere, I really suggest that you maybe start with that. Start with doing that Down Dog app a few times this week and see how you feel. The other thing, because it is spring break and you do have a little bit of flexibility, there's also this app or website called MindBody. It's just called the MindBody app. But if you go on there, and I actually linked it in one of the assignments, they have exercise classes that are local to you, and it's for anything from like Zumba to stand-up paddleboarding yoga to wall climbing to it's all these studios that offer all these different things. And maybe I challenge you and a significant other or a friend or a child to go and maybe try out a fitness class that you've never done before and just see what it's like. And I don't know, just try to move in a different way than you're used to, one that elicits joy instead of the like dread that we sometimes feel along exercising. Something that my husband and I started doing a little bit ago is we try to do a date at least once a month. And so instead of doing date nights, we started something called date days. And we will plan our days around things that we truly enjoy. And we alternate each month about who gets to kind of plan it. So we've done like stand-up paddleboarding. We've done different hikes that we couldn't do with our kids because they're a little bit more challenging, like Hawk Mountain or Pinnacle. We've done climbing, like at the Philadelphia Rock Wall. Speaking of climbing, I watched the documentary Free Solo last night. It's on Prime. It's about a man who solo climbed, so without any ropes, El Capitan in Yosemite National Park, and it was absolutely incredible. So if you have a chance, check that out. But climbing, or we would do, I'm trying to think some of our other ones. Oh, we did like a 5K meditation, like triathlon thing that we found online. We've done concerts. So maybe pick something that allows you to connect with somebody that you haven't really had a chance to connect with lately, and then kind of elicit that movement piece into it. And I think that would be a beautiful way to kind of do this. So as far as what you're responsible for, it's literally just you're going to explore the website Mind Body Green, which is a podcast that I love and a website that I love that has so much information, and find an article on movement that speaks to you. And then you're just going to discuss it with your discussion group. So that's one assignment. And the other thing is just go move and play and then reflect on it. So I'm hoping that you'll find something that truly makes you happy and that you are finding fun, and that play piece that can so nicely be intertwined with movement. So that's it. Happy spring break. And let me know if you have any questions. I'm totally here for you. Thanks.